do like my hair kind of up. That's cute. Oh, that's cute. How do I do that though? Do I have to? Okay. This is definitely a smoke sesh. I hope it's not too loud out here. My neighbor their TV is kind of loud, but hopefully you can hear me instead. Like, I really like this layout. Hopefully I don't flash you guys too much. But I just rolled up. We're about to smoke. I filmed a video last night about self-love and how important it is to love yourself first when you're in a relationship. Well, to be honest, how important it is in general to love yourself first. If you can't get behind loving yourself most or loving yourself more, because some people can't really understand that concept, like, what? I can't love myself more than I love my mom. That's fine. But love yourself first. What I want to talk about today go this way a little bit. I have elf ears, y'all. Which I love them. I actually really wish. There we go. That's cute. Hold on. Let's accentuate my elf ears, because I love them and I want to look like an elfin princess. Hell yeah. One more. Okay. Excuse me. So today, continuing the theme of self-love, we're gonna talk about compassion and having compassion for yourself. Cheers. I'm in no way condoning smoking to anyone. I live in LA. I live in California, so it is legal here. I in no way condone. If you want to smoke weed, smoke weed. But if you don't. And I can't even tell you not to judge people, because that's your own prerogative. Judge if you want to. Okay, so having compassion for yourself. We hear this saying all the time, you're your own worst enemy, but we're also our own best friend. And I prefer to change my language in that regard, where like I have the capacity and the potential to be my own worst enemy, but I am my own best friend. And so how are you talking to yourself? Do you have compassion for yourself? When you mess up and when you make a mistake, do you talk to yourself? Like, do you tell yourself it's okay? Do you ask yourself what you learned from said mistake? Do you take a break for a minute and kind of reflect, rest, or just hang out with yourself as you would if you were to pick up the phone and call a friend and tell them the mistake? Like, how would you want them to talk to you? Not, what the bitch, you're so stupid, why would you do that? Like, you have a friend that's talking to you, would you want them to tell you, hey, you're stupid, you're just a dumb bitch? No. Unless it's out of love, like, wow, bitch, you're really dumb for that. But okay, it's okay. What did you learn from it? Or did you learn anything from it? Or what can we do differently next time? Like, how would you want your parents to talk to you? You wouldn't want them to call you stupid. right? You wouldn't want them to be rude to you. And if that's what motivates you, I'm not saying everybody needs positive reinforcement. I'm not saying everybody needs to talk to themselves like very softly, but you do need to have compassion for yourself. Because causing yourself more stress just because you made a mistake, as if mistakes aren't inevitable. Like, think about it. Why are you reprimanding yourself and punishing yourself for doing something that's going to happen for the rest of your life? Where does growth happen? In transition. Where does growth happen? When you're going through something. Where does growth happen? When you make a mistake and you can learn from it. There's a negative connotation with mistakes, but it's like, why? Because it's a bad thing? It's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. Does it hurt sometimes? Yes. But it's a great thing because then we learn and we move on. We're now a different person on the other side of that mistake. But if you're degrading yourself and putting yourself through more stress and being that hard on yourself, not having compassion for yourself, that's stressful. That can hinder us. That can send us into a depression. Think about it. The people that you experience love from, is this how they spoke to you? Because if that's the case, then you have to heal from that. And then you have to talk to yourself differently so that you won't allow other people to come into your life and talk to you any kind of way and just disrespect you. But how are you going to do that if you yourself don't have compassion for yourself? And then how are you going to do that for other people too? Some people can. I know I can. I'll have the most compassion for everyone else but myself. But that's a trauma response. Like, that's me overcompensating. That's me taking it's still self-sabotage, because even though I don't necessarily talk to myself poorly, instead I'll just stay stagnant and start paying attention to other people's problems, right? And be there for other people. But I won't be there for myself because it's too painful, because it hurts too much, because who wants to face themselves making yet another mistake? Who wants to face that? Nobody wants to face that. But if you realize that it's inevitable, literally inevitable, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Why get upset about it? Why not just embrace it? Now I approach mistakes like, oh, thank goodness I made this now instead of a year from now, because then I would be that much more behind. Now I'm grateful for my mistakes. I'm thankful for my mistakes because I'm thankful for the knowledge that came from them. And I wouldn't have that knowledge had I not made that mistake. We're not born perfect. We don't have it all together, and yet for some reason, humans think that they need to. Or maybe you're distracting yourself from something else that you need to deal with. So you'd rather bitch and moan about a mistake you made instead of healing from your childhood trauma. That's me halfway joking, but it's like, what are you distracting yourself for? Like, why are you so hard on yourself? And if you keep making the same mistake over and over again, are you now addicted to how you're speaking to yourself? Being so hard on yourself? Are you now addicted to being upset? That emotion is energy in motion. And when we feel an emotion, scientifically, it's a chemical being set off in our brains and through our bodies. Okay, even though you don't feel it and you're not aware of that, when you feel love, there's a chemical being set off. When you're really happy, there's a chemical being set off. When you're really low, there's a chemical being set off. Like, we talk about mental illness being a chemical imbalance. That's what that means. And we often talk about chemicals in a bad way. Like, oh, chemicals are bad, but no, we're made of chemicals. And we have chemicals setting off in our brain to tell us that we're happy, to tell us that we're sad, to tell us. So if you're constantly beating yourself down and making yourself even sadder than you were, is it safe to say that you're addicted to that chemical? Because you sure enough aren't doing what it takes to make yourself happy. And having compassion for yourself is that first step. When a kid falls off their bike, or when a child breaks something on accident, we look at people who yell at kids when that happens as if they're just demons, right? We're like, how could you speak like that to a child? It's a child. But we fail to understand that no matter what age you are, you deserve compassion. You deserve to be understood. You deserve to be understood. And if you don't understand yourself and what you're going through and what you're dealing with, how do you expect other people to? Unless, of course, they've been through the same thing, but it's like, you're not even trying to get to the root of it yourself. Sit with it, think about it for a little bit, and be kind. Allow yourself the space. What does being kind to myself look like, Moon? Not that you guys sound like that. But it looks like you being your best friend. It looks like you saying, hey, it's okay. It's okay that happened. Now I know not to do this specific thing again because it leads to this. Next time I'll go about this differently. It looks like running a bubble bath for me. Having compassion for myself. It looks like running a bubble bath and pampering myself even though I made a dumbass mistake. Rewarding myself even though I made a dumbass mistake. Because I'm living and I have the courage to step out on a limb and make that mistake in the first place. So you know what I deserve? I deserve love. So I'm gonna love myself through figuring out how to figure out whatever I'm trying to figure out, or through whatever I'm trying to accomplish in life. Whatever I'm trying to accomplish in life, I'm going to have compassion for myself through figuring out how to get there. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to choose peace and joy and happiness. I'm going to choose to enjoy this journey. That's what life is. It's a journey. It's a cycle. See, I've been talking for 19 minutes and I know a lot of that is just me, like, rambling. I'm high. And I'm high. And I only took a couple of puffs. If I were to roll a backwood, okay, let's talk about that. If I were to roll a backwood, I could smoke that whole backwood and be fine. Tobacco takes away from the high. And you be wasting hella weed. You literally waste so much weed rolling a backwood. And don't get me wrong, I actually genuinely enjoy backwoods. Or at least used to. I haven't rolled a backwood in a long time. But I used to roll exclusively blunts. Dutches. I went from Swisher Sweets, realized they were terrible for you, went to Dutches, and then went to backwoods, and it was like exclusively backwoods. And I could roll a whole baseball bat of a blunt. Like, it would literally look like a baseball bat or like a thumb. Like, I'd put a whole eighth in that bitch. And then be able to smoke the whole thing and still feel like, oh, like I can roll up again. How did you just smoke a whole eighth and feel like you can roll up again? No. And then I'm like, I've had 2 bongs in my lifetime. Both from exes, so I no longer have them anymore. I'm really big on like purging things like that. But especially if it was like a really hard journey and I came out on top. A big part of releasing is releasing the things that we've had together, because there's too many emotions attached to those things for me. But anyways, what am I even talking about? Oh yeah, backwards. So I would roll a blunt and still be like, oh yeah, so I can still roll another blunt. And I'm like, why why are we smoking backwards if it doesn't get me as high as papers would? Why am I smoking backwards if it doesn't get me as high as papers would? I can take a couple puffs of this and be zooted. Plus they're bad for you because it's tobacco, like, and they're that was such a stoner moment. I feel like such a stoner. I can barely see my eyes. Because your girl definitely has a big ass head. I didn't do an intro. It's so pretty that I kind of want to stay out here and read. Things you always need when you're reading. Bookmark tabs. Amazing book. A pen and a highlighter, but I can't find. I don't like using yellow highlighters. I like every other color besides yellow. And I say that just because it's just yellow highlighters just are a little too abrasive for me. So I usually use like green, blue, pink. I've had a pink one for like the longest. Hopefully I showed it.